The night was dark, and the streets were silent except for the sound of broken glass under his boots. The man walked alone, his hands inside his torn jacket, his mind heavy with thoughts of another empty day. He was poor, hungry, and tired. Life had not been kind to him. Yet tonight, something strange caught his eye. In the corner of an abandoned alley, he saw a small figure curled up against the wall. At first, he thought it was just another child. But when the figure lifted its head, he froze. The face was not human. Large silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Skin smooth, pale blue, with tiny scars across the cheeks. It was an alien child, trembling, alone, and clearly afraid. For a long moment, he just stared. His world had taught him to fear aliens, to avoid them, even to hate them. But there was something in those wide eyes, something desperate, something innocent. Without thinking, he took a step closer. The child flinched, expecting harm, but the man crouched down slowly, showing empty hands. "It's all right," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." The child's breathing calmed a little, but the fear never left its face. Suddenly, the silence of the night was broken by footsteps. Heavy, rushed footsteps. A group of men appeared from the shadows, rough-looking, carrying knives and chains. Their eyes lit up with greed when they saw the alien child. "There it is," one of them sneered. "The reward will be ours tonight." They were bounty hunters. They wanted the child alive, or maybe dead, for money. He felt his chest tighten. He could have stepped aside, walked away, and let them take the alien. It wasn't his problem. But when the child reached out and grabbed the sleeve of his jacket, whispering with a voice shaking from fear, "Please, help me," something inside him broke. He stood up, placing himself between the child and the gang. "Leave the kid," he said firmly, though his hands trembled. The hunters laughed. "Look at this fool," one of them said, "protecting the alien. You'll die for nothing." The man clenched his fists. He had nothing to lose anyway. No family, no job, no future. Maybe tonight he had found something worth standing for. The first hunter rushed at him with a knife. The man fought back with raw desperation, blocking, swinging, and punching with all the strength left in his body. For a moment, he even pushed them back. But there were too many. One knife cut into his side. Another sliced his arm. He fell to his knees, gasping, blood spilling onto the dirt. The child screamed, but the hunters only laughed louder. "You're weak," they mocked. "You can't save it." Still, the man forced himself up, staggering, taking blows meant to crush him. Every cut burned like fire, but he refused to step aside. He shielded the alien child with his body, absorbing every strike. One by one, the blades pierced deeper. Once, twice, 3 times. He lost count. His vision blurred. His breath came ragged and slow. By the 8th stab, he could barely stand. Blood covered his shirt, dripping into the dirt. The hunters, certain of his death, kicked him to the ground and spat on him. "Worthless human," one hissed. "Now watch the alien die." The child crawled to him, tears streaming down its strange face. "Why?" The child whispered. "Why did you do this for me?" His lips moved, but his voice was weak, fading. "Because no one else would." He tried to smile, but his body was too broken. The hunters moved closer, their blades shining, ready to take the child. The man's last thought was regret that he had failed to protect the innocent. His eyes slowly closed, and the world turned black. But then, a sound shook the alley. The sharp rhythm of boots hitting the ground. Dozens of footsteps, fast and heavy, echoing like thunder. The hunters froze, looking around nervously. From the darkness at the far end of the alley, figures began to appear. Tall, armored, carrying strange glowing weapons. Their eyes burned with fury, their steps perfectly in sync. It was not a gang. It was not the police. It was a entire squad of alien soldiers. The hunters dropped their blades in fear, their bravado gone. The alien child gasped with relief, calling out in its own language, words filled with hope. The man, barely clinging to life, forced his eyes open one last time. Through the haze of blood and pain, he saw them, the alien soldiers, standing over him. Surrounding him, weapons raised, their gaze fixed on him and the child. His mind spun in confusion. Why were they here? Why were they looking at him? The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him again was the face of one soldier kneeling close, eyes glowing under the helmet, as if studying him with deep respect. And then silence. The man woke to silence. At first, he thought he was dead. His body felt weightless, as if floating in a dream. He tried to move, but every part of him ached. Every bone screamed in pain. Slowly, his eyes opened. Instead of the dirty ground where he had fallen, he saw smooth silver walls, glowing faintly with shifting lights. Strange symbols moved across the surface like living letters. The air was warm, thick with a faint scent of metal and herbs. He blinked in disbelief. This was not Earth. This was something else. A soft hum surrounded him. And then he felt it, something pressing into his skin, like invisible hands stitching his wounds together. He looked down. His torn jacket was gone, replaced with a thin, glowing sheet wrapped across his chest. Where there had been deep stab wounds, there were now faint scars, almost healed. His heart raced. He had been stabbed 8 times. He should have been dead. Yet he was alive. Before he could gather his thoughts, the door slid open with a hiss. A tall figure entered, covered in dark armor, face hidden behind a helmet. The man tensed, expecting an enemy. But the soldier did not raise a weapon. Instead, the soldier bowed his head slightly, then stepped aside. Behind him, the small alien child walked in. The child's silver eyes lit up with relief when they met his. "You live," the child said softly. Its voice trembled, but it carried both joy and guilt. The man pushed himself up, groaning from the pain. Where am I?" His voice cracked, dry as stone. "You are safe," the child answered, kneeling beside him. Tiny hands reached out, touching the edge of his bandage. "They saved you. Because you saved me." The man frowned, his confusion growing. "They? Who are they?" As if to answer, more armored figures entered the room. Alien soldiers. Their boots echoed against the metal floor, their weapons glowing faintly, energy humming through them. They formed a half-circle around the bed, their stances sharp and disciplined. The man's heart pounded. He expected hostility. But instead, to his shock, they placed their fists over their chests and bowed not to the child. Not to each other, but to him. He stared, wide-eyed. "What? What is this?" The child looked at him with strange seriousness. "You don't understand yet. But you will. These soldiers, they follow me. And now, they follow you too." His head spun. None of this made sense. He was a broken, poor human with nothing to his name. Why would alien warriors bow to him? He turned to the child, anger slipping into his voice. "Tell me the truth. Who are you?" The child hesitated, then lowered his head. "I am not just a child. My blood is marked. My family rules. I am heir to the Cathari clan, the oldest, most feared house of my people." The words came slowly, but with weight. The man could see the soldiers stiffen as the child spoke, as though even hearing the title carried power. The man shook his head, trying to process it. "Heir? You mean a prince?" The child's eyes flickered. "In your words, yes. But not just prince. More. My life is worth more than gold, more than cities. Many want me dead. You stood in their way. You bled for me?" The child's voice cracked, almost breaking. "And so, they cannot ignore you now. You are bound to me. You are." "Brother of the blood." The soldiers repeated the phrase at once, their voices strong, echoing through the chamber. "Brother of the blood." The man's chest tightened. A cold shiver ran down his spine. He had fought that night because his heart told him to protect a helpless child. He had not asked for a title. He had not asked for loyalty or alien soldiers bowing before him. Yet here he was, standing in the middle of something far greater than he could understand. The child looked at him with eyes full of trust. "You are one of us now, and we will protect you." But even as the soldiers lowered their fists, even as they looked at him with respect, the man noticed something else. A pair of eyes in the group lingered too long on him, not with loyalty, but with cold hatred. The soldier's jaw clenched beneath the helmet, hands tight around the weapon. It was only a glimpse, but the man felt that there was poison in the ranks. He swallowed hard. Leaning back on the bed, the weight of his new reality pressing down on him. He was no longer just a poor human, forgotten by the world. He was tied to an alien heir, guarded by soldiers, respected by warriors. But he was also surrounded by secrets, lies, and dangers he could not yet see. The child's hand squeezed his arm gently. "Rest now. Soon you will see why fate kept you alive." The man closed his eyes, but his mind would not rest. He could not shake the thought that his rescue was not a blessing, but the start of something far more dangerous. And somewhere in the shadows of the alien squad, a silent enemy waited, ready to strike. The man did not sleep for long. His body rested, but his mind remained sharp, restless. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the blades again. He felt the fire of 8 wounds reopening in his chest. He heard the child's trembling voice asking, "Why?" Yet, when he opened his eyes, the smooth alien walls still glowed around him, reminding him he was not dreaming. The door hissed open. More soldiers entered, this time without helmets. Their faces were different-angular, pale, with marks of glowing lines across their skin, as if veins of light ran through their bodies. They carried themselves with pride, their eyes sharp and watchful. The man pushed himself up slowly. He still did not trust them. The alien child stood in the center of the room. His small figure looked fragile, but his silver eyes burned with quiet strength. The soldiers stopped before him, kneeling with one knee down, fists pressed to their chests. The man stared in confusion. Why kneel to a child? The leader of the soldiers spoke first, his voice deep, calm, but heavy with respect. "We live for the Cathari bloodline. We die for the Cathari bloodline. We serve the heir until our last breath." The soldiers repeated his words in one voice, a sound that shook the room like thunder. The child lifted his head. His eyes moved to the man, and then something strange happened. The leader of the soldiers turned, bowed not to the heir, but to the man lying weak on the bed. "You bled for the heir. You stood against death when others would have fled. By the law of Cathari blood, you are no longer outsider. You are brother of the blood." Again, the soldiers repeated in unison, "Brother of the blood." The man's hands trembled. He could not understand. He was a beggar, a forgotten soul. Why would alien warriors lower their heads for him? He shook his head. "No," he whispered. "You have the wrong man. I am nothing. I am not one of you." But the leader stepped closer. His glowing eyes locked onto the man's. "You spilled blood for the heir when even our own soldiers failed to reach him. Honor is not given. It is earned. And you, human, have earned it." The child placed a hand on the man's arm. His voice was softer, gentler than the commander's. "You saved me when I was alone. No soldier, no guard, no family was there. Only you. To me, that is more than blood." The man looked into the child's silver eyes and felt his throat tighten. He had fought because his heart told him to protect an innocent. Now, these words chained him to something far greater than his own choice. He wanted to refuse, to walk away. But deep down, he knew the path behind him was already gone. The leader drew his blade, a long weapon of glowing metal, edges alive with fire. He lifted it high and then placed it before the man, the tip resting against the floor. The soldiers around him followed, each blade striking the ground with the same sharp ring. Together they declared, "From this day, until the stars burn out, we stand by the brother of the blood." The sound of their vow filled the room, echoing like ancient thunder. The man's chest felt heavy. He wanted to shout that he did not deserve this, but no words came. He simply sat in silence as the weight of their oath pressed onto his shoulders. But even in that moment of honor, danger hid in the shadows. Among the soldiers, one face did not bow as low as the others. One pair of eyes glared with hatred, burning with secret rage. The man noticed it for only a second, but the coldness in that stare made his blood run colder than any knife wound. Later, when the room emptied, the man finally spoke. "I never asked for this," he muttered. The child sat beside him, his small hands folded in his lap. "Fate does not ask," the child replied. "It gives, and it takes. And now it is given you to me." The words unsettled him. He felt trapped, like a pawn on a board he could not see. But before he could respond, alarms suddenly blared through the halls. Red lights flashed across the silver walls. The soldiers rushed back in, weapons drawn, voices sharp. The leader looked at the man, then at the child. His jaw tightened. An intruder. "The ship has been breached." The child's face turned pale, fear returning to his wide eyes. The man gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stand despite the pain. He was weak. But his instincts screamed the truth. Someone inside had already betrayed them. The alarm stopped after some time. But the tension in the alien ship never faded. Guards doubled their patrols. Soldiers stood in every corner, watching, listening, waiting for the next strike. The man felt their eyes follow him wherever he went. He was not a prisoner, but he was not free either. He was something in between, an outsider who had been given a title he did not understand at first. His body was too weak to move. Every step felt heavy, every breath like fire. But the aliens did not let him remain idle. They said his wounds were healed, but his spirit was still broken. The commander himself came to his chamber one morning, tossing a blade onto the floor. "If you are brother of the blood, then prove it. Stand." The man shook his head. "I am no soldier. I fought only to protect the boy." The commander's glowing eyes narrowed. "The air's blood flows with enemies on every side. If you stay weak, you are only weight for us to carry. You must rise, or you will fall and take him with you." The words stung. The man hated them because they were true. He had bled once to save the child. If he wanted to do it again, he would need more than courage. He would need strength. Reluctantly, he picked up the blade. His hands trembled at first. The weapon was heavier than any knife he had ever held, its edge humming with strange energy. But he gritted his teeth and stood. Training began the next day. The soldiers dragged him into a wide chamber where walls glowed with shifting light. The floor was soft like sand, made for battle practice. At first, they mocked him. His strikes were slow, his balance poor. Each time he fell, they laughed. But the commander only watched with a hard expression. "Let him fail," he said. "From failure, strength is born." The man did fail. Again and again. His arms ached, his chest screamed with pain. Sweat poured from him, soaking through his clothes. But every time he hit the ground, He thought of the child's eyes, trusting, innocent, depending on him. And every time he forced himself back up, days became weeks. Something inside him began to change. Alien medicine flowed through his veins, repairing, strengthening, sharpening. His wounds did not reopen. His muscles grew harder. His mind became sharper. Where once he stumbled, now he moved with speed. Where once he missed, now his strikes landed true. The child often came to watch. His silver eyes would shine with excitement each time the man stood longer against the soldiers. "You are not like them," the child whispered one evening. "You fight like human, but you endure like Cathari." The man only sighed. "I am neither. I don't belong here." But deep inside, he began to wonder if that was still true. His body no longer felt entirely human. The medicine, the training, the fire of survival, something alien was waking within him. Still, not everyone welcomed his progress. Some soldiers looked at him with quiet respect, others with cold silence. But there were a few whose hatred was clear. He saw it in the way their jaws tightened when he landed a strike. He felt it in the way their stares lingered like daggers. The oath of loyalty had been spoken, but not all hearts believed it. One night, after training, the commander called him aside. "Do you know why some despise you?" The man shook his head. "Because you are not Cathari. You are human. To them, you are weak, unworthy. But your weakness is what makes you dangerous. You fight without honor, without tradition. You fight with survival. That is why you live." The man did not answer. He only stared at the blade in his hand, hearing the hum of alien energy. As weeks passed, the training grew harder. He faced 3 soldiers at once, then 5. Each battle left him bleeding, but he never surrendered. The child's voice always echoed in his mind. "You saved me." That memory gave him strength no medicine could. Then came the final test. One morning, the commander ordered silence across the chamber. All soldiers stood in a circle, their eyes fixed on the man. A single soldier stepped forward, his armor darker, his weapon sharper. The commander said, "Face him. If you survive, you are truly one of us. If you fall, you were never meant to be." The duel began. The soldier attacked with speed beyond anything the man had faced before. Blades clashed, sparks flying across the sand. The man staggered at first, his breath ragged, but he did not break. Step by step, strike by strike, he endured. When the final blow came, he twisted, letting instinct guide him. His blade cut across the soldier's chest, knocking him down. The chamber fell silent. The commander raised his fist. "He stands. He is brother of the blood." The soldiers echoed the words. Yet in the crowd, the man saw one figure turn away, eyes burning with quiet rage. A traitor still lurked among them, waiting for the right moment to strike. The man knew his training was only the beginning. The man's body had changed, but his heart carried the same unease. Training made him faster, stronger, sharper, but he could never shake the feeling of eyes watching him with hidden hate. The alien soldiers around him bowed when the child was near. But when no one watched, he sometimes caught whispers, low. Sharp words spoken in their alien tongue, followed by silence when he entered the room. The child trusted them. The commander respected him. Yet the man could feel it. Betrayal was close, like a blade pressed against the back of his neck. One night he woke from uneasy sleep. The ship was quiet, the walls glowing faintly as they always did. But something felt wrong. His chest tightened, his instinct screaming. He slid from his bed and pressed his ear against the door. Nothing, only silence. Still, his gut told him to move. He slipped out, bare feet against the cold floor, and followed the hall. He found the child's chamber guarded by 2 soldiers. They stood still, their weapons in hand. But when the man looked closer, he saw the faint trembling in their arms, the nervous twitch of their fingers. These were not guards protecting. These were predators waiting. The man did not shout. He did not rush. He simply stepped closer, his voice low and calm. "Strange," he said. "The commander never posts guards at the heir's door at night." The soldiers stiffened. One of them sneered. "Return to your bed, human. This is not your concern." But the man's hand was already resting on the blade at his side. "Everything that touches him," he said coldly, "is my concern." Before they could react, he moved. His blade flashed, striking the weapon from the first guard's hand. The second lunged, but the man twisted, his knees slamming into the soldier's chest. The hallway erupted into violence. The man fought with raw instinct, not style-fast, dirty, desperate. In seconds, one soldier lay groaning on the floor, the other pinned against the wall, the tip of a blade pressing against his throat. "Who sent you?" The man growled. The soldier's glowing eyes flickered with hatred. "You do not belong here, human. The heir's blood is sacred. You are filth. You are stain." The words cut deeper than any knife. But before the man could demand more, alarm screamed through the ship. Red light flooded the hall. The pinned soldier twisted, breaking free just as more footsteps thundered toward them. The commander and his loyal guards appeared, weapons raised. The man stepped back, blood on his blade, his chest rising and falling like fire. The commander's eyes swept across the scene, the broken soldier on the floor, the other slipping away into the chaos. "Ambush," the man said quickly. "They were here to take him." The commander's face hardened. He barked orders in the alien tongue, and soldiers rushed down the halls. The child appeared from his chamber, wide-eyed and trembling. When he saw the man, his expression softened. "You saved me again," he whispered. But the man only shook his head. His chest was heavy. He had trusted his instincts, and they were right. The betrayal he had felt was real. Yet he also knew something worse. If two soldiers had dared to strike, then the rot ran deeper than anyone admitted. Later, in the war room, the commander stood over a table of glowing maps. He turned to the man. "Your instincts are sharper than many of my own. You smelled their treachery before any of us. That is not chance." The man leaned on the table, eyes hard. "It is survival. I have lived in streets where death hides in shadows. You learn to feel it before it comes. These soldiers, your soldiers, they are not loyal." The commander's jaw tightened. "Some of them are, but yes. Some would rather see the heir dead than bow to a human who defends him." The child sat quietly, listening. His small hands gripped the edge of the table. "Then we must find the traitor. We must know who it is." The man looked at him and felt a sting of pity. The boy's eyes still held innocence, but innocence could not survive here. "It's not one traitor," he said grimly. "It's more, maybe many. They will wait, watching until the right moment. And when it comes, they will strike hard." The commander said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. From that day forward, the man never slept deeply. His blade rested by his side. He watched every soldier's eyes, every step, every hesitation. And still, at times, he caught that same cold glare, those same clenched jaws. The oath had been spoken, but it meant nothing to some. And then, weeks later, it came. The ship drifted near the edge of a strange asteroid field. The crew moved with caution. But the man felt it again, that clawing in his chest, that warning in his blood. He shouted before anyone else saw it. "Ambush." Almost instantly, explosions tore through the silence of space. Enemy ships emerged from the rocks, weapons blazing. The alien vessel shook with fire. The commander roared orders. The soldiers rushed to their stations. But in the chaos, the man saw an alien soldier pulling the child away. Not toward safety, but deeper into shadow. His heart froze. The betrayal was no longer whispers. It was here. And it was aimed straight at the air. The battle in space raged for hours. Alien ships lit the darkness with fire, each blast shaking the vessel where the man and the air hid. Soldiers shouted orders, the commander's voice cutting through the storm, but betrayal already lived among them. The man knew it. He had seen it in the eyes of the soldier dragging the child toward shadow. He had run after them, cutting through smoke and falling debris, but the chaos swallowed them both. When he finally caught up, it was too late. Cold metal struck his head. The world spun. Darkness swallowed him whole. When he woke, the smell of blood and rust filled his nose. His hands were bound in chains, his arms pulled tight above his head. His chest throbbed where old wounds had been reopened by fists and boots. His legs were weak, his throat dry, but he was alive. Slowly, his vision cleared. He was in a dim chamber, the walls bare, the air heavy with silence. Then he saw the child. The air sat on the floor across the room. Knees pulled close, silver eyes wide with sorrow. His face was streaked with tears. When he noticed the man stirring, he crawled closer until the guard shoved him back. "I'm sorry," the child whispered, his voice breaking. "This is all because of me." The man's head lifted, heavy with pain. His lips cracked as he forced out words. "No, it's not because of you." His voice was rough, but steady. "It's because of me. I didn't die when I should have. I brought this on us." The door opened. The traitor entered. It was the soldier he had seen before, the one whose eyes never hid their hatred. He removed his helmet now, revealing a face scarred with deep cuts, each one glowing faintly like burning lines. His expression twisted with rage and pride. "You should have stayed dead, human," the soldier spat. "You think you belong because you spilled blood for the air? You are filth. You polluted our oath." He stepped closer, pressing a blade under the man's chin. "The clan will be stronger once you are gone. And once the air is silenced, no human stain will remain." The man did not flinch. His eyes burned back with defiance. "If you kill me, another will rise. If you kill him, your own kind will tear you apart." The traitor snarled, striking him across the face. Blood dripped from the man's mouth, but still he refused to bow. The child shouted, "Stop. Please, he is brother of the blood. You cannot break the oath." The traitor's eyes flickered, but only with more hatred. "The oath means nothing," he hissed. "It was forced upon us. We will erase it tonight." Aki raised his blade high. The child screamed, rushing forward, but the guards held him back. The man braced for the final blow. His body was broken, his strength nearly gone. Yet even in that moment, he straightened his back, meeting death with steady eyes. But before the blade could fall, the chamber shook. The door exploded inward, metal twisting under fire. Smoke filled the room, and through it came voices, shouts, orders, war cries. The loyal soldiers stormed in. Energy blasts cut through the traitors. The commander led them, his weapon blazing like fire in the dark. The traitor roared, turning his blade against the intruders, but the man saw his chance. With the last of his strength, he pulled hard against the chains, the sharp edge cutting his wrists. Blood poured, but the metal cracked. He wrenched free, grabbed the traitor's arm, and twisted with all his rage. The blade fell, clattering to the floor. They fought brutally. No skill, no grace, only fists, claws, blood, and fury. The traitor's strength was greater, but the man's will was unbreakable. He thought of the child, of every promise, of every moment he stood when death tried to claim him. And in that moment, he fought like a beast cornered. The loyal soldiers rushed to the air, shielding him. The commander's voice roared, "Protect the child!" But the man barely heard it. His whole world was the traitor before him. With one final surge, he drove the enemy's head against the wall. The traitor collapsed, stunned, but alive for now. The man fell to his knees, his body shaking from exhaustion. Blood dripped from his wrists and chest. The child broke free from the guards and rushed to him, wrapping small arms around his shoulders. "I thought I lost you," the air whispered through tears. The man's voice was barely a whisper, rough and weak. "I'm still here." For now, the commander approached, eyes blazing with both anger and respect. "We nearly lost everything tonight," he said. His gaze hardened on the fallen traitor. But this was no lone act. Treachery runs deeper than we feared. The man closed his eyes, his breath ragged. He could feel his body breaking down. He had survived the streets, the stabbing, the training, and now this betrayal. Yet something told him the worst had not come, because as the loyal soldiers carried him and the air away, the traitor, bleeding on the floor, smiled faintly. His voice, barely audible, whispered into the shadows, "This is only the beginning." The ship groaned as though the stars themselves pressed against it. Flames spread through its halls, alarms howled, and every soldier loyal and traitor alike rushed into battle. The man, still bleeding from his chains, was carried through the smoke by 2 loyal guards. The air clung to his side, refusing to let go. His silver eyes glistened with both fear and determination. The commander's voice roared across the comms. "The traitors strike now. This is their last move. Hold the air at all costs." The man staggered on his feet, shaking off the guards. His body was broken, but his spirit refused to bend. "No one else dies for me," he growled. "I will fight." The commander turned, eyes burning with respect. "Then fight. But know this, brother of the blood tonight will end in fire." For all of us, the final battle began in the Great Hall, where the walls curved like the inside of a massive dome. Soldiers clashed in brutal combat, weapons glowing, blades striking, screams echoing through the smoke. The man joined the fray, his stolen blade flashing in the red light. He fought without thought, only instinct. Every strike, every block, every move was driven by one truth: protect the child. The air was shielded by loyal guards. But the traitors came like a tide. Again and again they pushed forward, aiming for the boy. The man stood in their path, his body screaming with pain, yet he moved like a storm. Every cut he suffered, every bruise, only pushed him harder. The soldiers had trained him to fight like them. But now he fought like himself, raw, wild, human. In the chaos, the traitor who had chained him rose once more. His armor was cracked, his face bloodied, but his hatred burned brighter than ever. He roared across the hall, cutting down friend and foe alike, until his eyes locked on the man. "You should have died long ago," he snarled. "I will end this tonight." The duel began, a clash that silenced even the chaos around them. The traitor's blade burned with alien fire, each strike heavy enough to break stone. The man's arms shook under the weight, but he refused to fall. He ducked, twisted, and countered, every movement fueled by the memory of 8 stabs in a dark alley. He had survived then. He would survive now. The air cried out, "Don't leave me." His small voice cut through the storm like lightning. The man felt his strength surge. With a roar, he caught the traitor's strike, turned his blade aside, and slammed his fist into the alien's chest. The traitor stumbled, but came back with fury. They fought like beasts, neither giving ground, until finally, the man saw his chance. With one last burst of strength, he drove his blade deep into the traitor's chest. The alien froze, his glowing eyes wide with shock. Blood spilled, fire hissed, and then he collapsed, his weapon clattering to the floor. The hall trembled with silence. The man swayed on his feet, his chest heaving. His body was broken, his arms heavy, his breath ragged. He fell to his knees, blood pooling beneath him. The air rushed forward, throwing his arms around him. "Don't die. Please, don't die." The commander stepped closer, his voice rough but steady. "You have done more than any soldier. You have earned more than any oath." The man's vision blurred. He heard the words, but they felt far away. His body was giving out. He closed his eyes, expecting darkness to take him, but something warm touched his chest. The air pressed his small hand against the man's heart. A mark of silver light spread across his skin, glowing brighter with every breath. The boy whispered ancient words, words heavy with power and bloodline. "From today, you are not just human. You are one of us. You are Cathari." The mark burned, searing into his flesh, but instead of pain, strength filled him. His wounds closed. His breath steadied. His heart pounded like a drum of war. The soldiers around them gasped, bowing their heads. The commander dropped to one knee. "The heir has chosen. You are now blood of the clan." The man opened his eyes, no longer weak, no longer broken. His chest bore the glowing mark of the Cathari. He was still human, but something more, now something stronger. He looked at the child, who smiled through tears. The battle was over, but the war had only begun. The traitors had been crushed, yet the whispers of rebellion would spread across the stars. The man knew peace would not last. But for the first time in his life, he had more than survival. He had purpose. He had family as the ship drifted from the battlefield. The man stood beside the heir, his blade at his side, the mark glowing faintly on his chest. He had died once for this child. He would do it again. But now he was not alone. He was brother of the blood. He was one of them. And in the silence of space, where stars burned like ancient fires, the future of both human and alien would change forever because of him.